I'm joined by Roger Sanchez. I hear you started out as a dancer.
I used to do modern dance, break dancing, a bit of spinning on my back and all that.
How did you make the transition from the dance floor to behind the decks?
Well, I had a friend of mine that was a DJ that used to do a lot of house parties and a lot of one-off events in New York. I was about 13 years old at the time, and basically one day he let me get on the decks, and he said, "Listen, I've got to take a break. I've got to talk to a girl or something. I can't remember what it was." But he left me to it, and from then on I just got hooked.
Did you find it hard to create your own style, or did it come naturally?
I used to have my own parties called Ego Trip, and before that I used to do parties at the Tunnel, the Red Zone, and I always wanted to have something that no one else had, even if it was just like a drum percussive break or just a track that none of the other DJs in New York had. And I think for us it was just a very competitive thing. I was like, look what I got, I make my crowd move and you don't have it. And from that really led me into the studio, just at a friend's house, and from there I developed everything.
You've got a track that you're releasing in July, I Never Knew.
It's the first single off my album, and it's a collaboration I've done with Cooley's Hotbox, which is a fairly underground jazz funk group. And that's the main vocalist's name is Christian Urick, and Angie Johnson, which is the female vocalist from the band. The album for me is more an expression of where I've been musically and where I'm going. It's got elements of hip hop, funk, soul, house, disco, drum and bass, electro, techno, and basically I mash it up and just come up with what I do. I'm also doing a track on the album with Charlene Spiteri from Texas, because I've just finished remixing her next single. And you hit it off so well in the studio that she said she'd love to do something on the album, so I'm writing a track specifically for her. And possibly something with Soul Sonic Force and King Sun, so let's see what happens.
What do you think of the club scene over here?
Well, I think the club scene is just so strong here. I think the crowds are really well up for it, and I always find that I get a lot of love and support from people here in the UK. And I think that at the end of the day, you always feel comfortable where people are really responding to you, you know. And I think that the club scene has nurtured dance music and house music so much in this country that, you know, for me, it's really a second home.
What was it like to tour with Janet Jackson?
CJ McIntosh and I did the opening for Janet Jackson when she played at the Docklands Arena a couple of years ago. And I think it was really interesting playing for like 12,000 screaming kids, and I don't think they even had a clue who we were. I think what it did was just kind of open them up to a lot of what we're doing now as DJs.
Going back to your producing, do you think it'll be a boost for you to be signed up by Sony?
Well, I think the main reason for me getting involved with the majors was really to be able to push what I do to a lot wider audience. And I think what's been very, very good is Sony have been really interested and supportive of me doing whatever it is I want to do for my album. They haven't told me, oh, you've got to make a record like this, or you got to make a record like that. And to a certain extent, I think they're kind of almost surprised that it isn't, that it's coming along the way it is. I've got a lot of songs on the album because I've always been very song-based. But my style is definitely progressing, and I wanted to make an album that people can not only play but listen to, and it makes sense. I had Narcotic Records for the past couple of years, and this year I've changed management and I've closed Narcotic Records, and I've just opened up a new one called Arsenal. And the first release is something that Junior Sanchez has done with Dajé called Be With You, which I think is going to be a really big record for him.